Welcome. Welcome to Soul Awakening Podcast, where we will embody the universal laws. I'm Sandy, and you just entered into a space where inner wisdom meets cosmic law. In this transformative podcast, I hope that we deep dive into the intersection of personal embodiment and the universal laws. This will unlock the power of growth within you and the power of how to use the universal laws as your tools. The more you know about yourself, the more you know that you can give the energy that is part of the universe that is given to us as tools, how you can use it and use it to your highest and for your highest good. Know that each episode is an invitation. It's an invitation for your body and your mind and your soul to enter together in an inner truth. Today, we will be embarking on part 5. The 5th cosmic law or law of the universe is the law of correspondence. I say that slowly because we have so many laws that embody each other and uniquely fall into place with each other. They are collaborators of the universe and the universal energy that is within you. So the universal law of correspondence is one of those that is profoundly illuminating. Right? It's believed to be illuminating. It's the cosmic key to a hidden architecture of how things work. You've heard so within, so without, so above, so below, right? Energy mirrors itself. So if energy is waiting for you to give it a command to create itself, then it's going to mirror what what the energy is that you have at that moment. And whether you say it's conscious or unconscious, whether you're sleeping through it or you have no knowledge of it at all, it has knowledge of itself, that it is here to create. It is here to mirror. Okay. So mirror. Okay, hold on a second. So just one second. I have an echo. Okay. And I still have an echo. Hold on a second. You know, sometimes these things happen. Just let's give ourselves a moment. Give ourselves a moment. I will figure it out. I think I know where it's echoing from. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, hold on. Okay. I think we have it. So let's get back to this. So this, if we understand this universal law, the law of course, or one of the, or many of the universal laws, but if we understand this one, along with the law of action, then we know what it requires of us and what we require of it. It's a mirror. It's like you standing in the mirror and fixing your hair and going, oh, okay, finding out what's your better side to take pictures on. You know what it's like to look in the mirror, guy or gal, right? The energy is going to mirror itself. It's going to work regardless. Energy has no gray areas. You can't bargain with it. You can't plead with it. It is going to work regardless of you saying, I was never conscious of that, I was never aware of that, it's still going to give you exactly what you're putting out. It still works on that law of action, and it works on the law of cause and effect as well, right? So this law teaches us that everything exists, or that is in existence, is connected to and through patterns of reflection, right? It's going to give you back exactly what you're reflecting. So that microcosm mirror that is mirroring the macrocosm is what is reflecting to you as your world. That's why they say if you see your world as chaotic outside, you have to go within, because the world outside is a reflection of inside. So if you see things that are fearful to you, or on the outside, you have to go find where that fear originated, and deal with it however you choose to deal with it. Some people, it takes a long time to surrender old ideas that no longer work for their highest and greatest good. And sometimes that means that they're letting go of people that no longer work for their highest and greatest good, no longer have the ability to give them what they need. And letting go can be the hardest thing, right? But as long as you're keeping hold of individual situations, circumstances that that this law of correspondence can adapt to or mirror, then you're getting what you get. You're getting what you're really, asking for. Even if you're asking for something that, I'm sorry, even if you're asking for something that uh, looks much better to you, that would feel much better to you. What is going on inwardly, right? I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out why. Okay, there we go. You have to do the deep dive. The law of correspondence isn't going to do your deep dive for you. It isn't going to dive into you and say, oh, here's where we're picking this up from. Here's what you need to change. That's all on us, because we're living this life. We're making these choices. We were given the feelings and the emotions simply for that, to be able to discern what we like and dislike, what we want and what we don't want, what we need and what we don't need, what we prefer and what we don't prefer, right? And then when we make that assessment, and hopefully you're making the assessment not from a judging stage, but from a discerning stage. You don't need to judge yourself about certain things that you chose and they weren't the best fit. That's life, right? But you chose it. The universe mirrored it and then brought it back to you, and energy becomes physical. It becomes your situation, your circumstance. It becomes the physical things that you thought you wanted. And then when you got them, they didn't come the right way. If they didn't come the right way, then you have to go inward and go, well, when I asked for this, what was I really thinking? Did I ask for this because somebody else has it, but it doesn't fit me right now at this particular time? The universe, through the law of correspondence, is mirroring your energy, your action, your reaction. Okay. So let's start with the example of perpetual conflict, right? Okay. Someone finds themselves in a reoccurring argument. It happens all the time, right? Whether it's with a partner or a coworker or even a stranger, but it tends to reoccur. On the surface, it might seem like they just have bad luck with people or are surrounded by difficult personalities. That's what your ego is going to put out to you. It's not you, it's them, right? But through the lens of the law of correspondence, this outer conflict reflects your, what you might call your inner war with yourself, with your egoic self. That's not letting up the reins. It's holding the reins on everything and saying, "Oh, nope, you're this and you're that, and you're it's not you, it's them," and it's not letting you see that there's something there that has either been pushed down because you didn't want to feel it because it was too uncomfortable, or pushed away because you've been through that, you've been there, done this, and it wasn't working out, so you pushed it away, but it's still back there. So every time a person, and it could be a new person that shows up having a conversation with you, your ego goes and gets something from your past memory. But subconscious is where usually the things that you push down hide, not high, but you hide them. And the ego says, "Oh, see, we done this before. See, this is what's going to happen. So this is how you need to react." And then you react the same way, and the situation is still the same. Through the lens of the law of correspondence, this outer conflict sometimes has reflects or mirrors inner conflict. Okay. Some people call it inner war. Perhaps an unresolved anger or belief that you always have to defend yourself, right? I've been there, done that, right? I.e., what I've been working on, or what I believe I've worked on already, is not rolling my eyes at people when they say things that they're in the defense that they might be getting ready to fire off at me. Now, don't get this wrong. They might be ready to fire off at you, right? They might be. I'm not saying that they haven't picked their chance to do you a dirty so that they can have control or feel superior. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is the story within you that allows you to be defensive before the person has revealed themselves makes the conflict continuously. Okay. So perhaps you have unresolved anger. Let's keep going. A belief that you always have to defend yourself from them. Subconscious expectation of betrayal, right? That you buried or put away because it didn't feel comfortable. The outer friction is simply echoing. The law is simply echoing this. No matter how deep you hide it, the law is echoing that energy because it's being transmitted through energy, even though it's deep. And then through the energy, it's turning into your action or reaction to situations or circumstances or conversations, right? So your outer friction is simply echoing your internal tension. I love that, right? When you begin to cultivate your inner peace, if you so choose, if you intend on trying to grow in your emotional maturity or trust, the conflict in your external world naturally diminishes. So within, so without. People respond differently and challenging dynamics dissolve entirely. So the energy that you start to put out, that energy is what the universe or the law of correspondence is going to try to match for you. Not try, it's going to match for you, right? So another example. chronic rejection. So imagine someone repeatedly applying for jobs and opportunities. Repeatedly. Been there, done that in 40 or 50 years ago. Or no, 30 or 40 years ago. And always being turned down. It would be tempting to blame economy or favoritism or poor timing, but the law of correspondence invites you to look deeper because you are the creator. What if their energy is laced with self-doubt? What if my energy was laced with self-doubt that came from somewhere within? A past story, something that I never wanted to feel again, so I buried it because I didn't deal with it. And every time it comes up, or every time a situation comes up where I have to go on an interview, and I start feeling a certain way, a certain vibration that comes deep from within that which I buried. Of course, the interview is not going to go that way. Why? Because the law of correspondence is mirroring my vibrational action. Okay. So, what if their energy is laced with self-doubt, fear of being seen, or hidden beliefs that they're not truly good enough? The subtle frequency, your subtle frequency gets to mirror back to the world as rejection. And you get to blame the world. That's what your egoic self that believes it's your personality is reflecting back to you. Okay. So, but what if you shift into a genuine confidence? What if you just have that moment of shift and you say, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to try this. I'm going to be confident because I know I can do this job. What if you just tap into that for a little bit, for that moment, right? What if you align your actions with a sense of worthiness, right? Or move into the clarity of body, mind, and soul, just for a moment. Take ownership of everything that's going on, the old story and the infinite possibility that you can do this, right? Then the external world, that external appointment or interview that you're having will reflect the internal, if only for that moment. However long that moment matches that vibrational energy. Okay. When you shift into a genuine confidence, an aligned action with a sense of worthiness, and move into clarity and ownership, the external world begins to open for you. The law of correspondence begins to shift and vibrate that and match that vibrational energy and frequency with your internal self. So within, so without. Right? It's not magical. It's just everything is corresponding. But you can call it magic. Right? Okay. Third example. Energy of desperation. We're just talking about the different energies right now, right? Okay. A person longing for a romantic connection may find themselves constantly attracting unavailable partners and ending up alone. I have a few friends in my past that say, why can't I get the right man? Why can't I get the right woman? How come I always end up with the same these same personalities, right? They might think love is elusive, but their inner world is vibrating loneliness or neediness or a fear of abandonment. The universe is mirroring that. It's a possibility. They possibly could be vibrating loneliness or neediness or a fear of abandonment. So that vibration that meets this law of correspondence, the law of correspondence is going to correspond to people who will feel, who have a need to control and feel, and that's not FEEL, but FILLED. Feel the the energy of that requirement. It's not that they want love or unconditional love. They want somebody to have a good time with. They want somebody to talk to, and they want somebody to take long walks on the beach. They want to not be lonely. There's a difference in instead of wanting to be happy and content and satisfied, right? Okay. So, but if their inner world is vibrating loneliness or neediness or the fear of abandonment, the universe mirrors that energy back, either through relationships that trigger those very fears or without connection altogether. When they turn inward and they begin to feel whole within themselves, so love, not only just know thyself, but unconditionally love yourself. When you unconditionally love yourself, you begin to show the universe how you want to be loved by others. And the universe, all the universal laws comply. They mirror your energy, right? So let's see. Let's keep going. When they turn inward, begin to feel whole within themselves and radiate self-love rather than seeking it externally. This is what I wrote. Rather than seeking it externally. And I love reading it because I don't like memorizing, but that's me. They start attracting partners who are emotionally available and ready for a true connection, right? A true connection. Because the outer world is simply responding to their internal frequency. You might say, someone might say they feel consistently overlooked at work or in social situations. When they try to speak up or they may try to speak up more, dress differently, or take on tasks to be noticed, but still the feeling persists, right? The universe is picking up on that. Law of correspondence is picking up on that. It's about why you, the vibration of why you're doing these kind of things and still feeling the same way. You're doing them, but it's because of how you're feeling about doing them. Right? I know. So within, so without. Right? According to the law of correspondence, it's not random. This law of correspondence is energy, and energy is here to serve, and it's serving based on the energy that you're transmitting. Remember, not only are you a receiver, but you're a transmitter. We talked about that last week. Okay. The law of correspondence reflects what, if you begin to claim what's within, the law of correspondence reflects that. If you trust your intuition, the law of correspondence reflects that. If you act on authentic self-expression, the law of correspondence reflects that. It's a mirror. And your environment around you will shift. They may get, these same people who never got noticed in meetings may start getting noticed in meetings, because the law of correspondence has mirrored what you really want and brought people into the meeting that notice you, that listen to you, that have opportunities that might arise for you. So within, so without. So these few examples that I've given you so far show you that life isn't happening to you or to me. It's happening because of us. Not just to us, not even just for us, but because of us. Or you can say it's happening through us and from us. The law of correspondence is not about blame, but we as human beings have been taught early on to blame others for our bad mood or our bad day or our lack of funds or abundance or bad health or any of those things. We've been taught to blame others, right? But when we become aware, see, what I've learned is I used to say, oh, you're either conscious or unconscious. And when you have your awakening, you become conscious. Well, what the divine helped me understand was that every human being, every being on this planet, not just human, but every being, including plants and the coral reefs and all of these, are conscious that they are being, that they are living, they're expressing some type of life. Are they aware that they are responsible for the life that they're expressing? Maybe not. When you realize that not only are you conscious of living, but you're aware, your awareness, being aware that you're conscious of living, the whole so within, so without becomes understandable, not just understandable. Okay. So the law of correspondence is not about blame. It's about awareness. Once you understand that the outer world is an intelligent reflection of your inner state, you begin to move, or you can begin to move from a victimhood state. Me. Why is this always happening to me? Right? You can move from that victimhood state into an empowered state where you can begin to create your story or your journey, and the universe, all of the universal laws can mirror that, right? When you realize, or when we begin to realize that by shifting our consciousness, we automatically shift our reality. Our reality is going to change when we shift from within. We came here as a being to shift and evolve in human form. We don't even have to manipulate the law of correspondence. It's not about manipulating any of the laws. Can't bargain with them. They can't be manipulated. They are energy that is here to do one thing for you, which is to create for you, which is to mirror you and create for you. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, right? So I say again, if we begin to realize that we can shift our consciousness, then we can automatically shift our awareness, our journey, right? If we begin to be clear and aligned with our authentic selves, know thyself, and who we are and what we really want. What do we really want? There are some folks that don't want to. They want to be victims because they get noticed. So they'd rather stay a victim because then they get the poor soul, or poor this, or I feel bad for her, and blah blah blah, or him, or whatnot. And don't get it twisted. A person came here to make that choice, and they can make that choice and live exactly that way. They don't have to, but that's a choice, and the divine will say, let that be so. I see myself through that person that wants to be a victim. Not right or wrong to the divine, to the creator of all that is and is not. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no like or dislike to that. That's why these universal laws, and these are just 7 of them, but there's many universal laws, many cosmic laws, right? When we're ready to be open to more laws, then they reveal themselves, right? To embody the law of correspondence is not to take a radical ownership of your internal. I'm sorry, my ego put that not word in there. To embody the law of correspondence is to take a radical ownership of your inner landscape. That means that you have to, sometimes get down and dirty with your egoic self that wants to go to what's easiest for you. And sometimes easy is not for your highest and greatest good. Right? Been there, done that. Doing this on YouTube, from feeling comfortable doing it on Instagram. My ego personality said, "Ooh, that's scary." And I had to sit in it for a minute until, a couple of people said, "Sandy, you did this on Instagram. All you're doing is going to a bigger platform. You can do this. What's different?" And I actually had to sit down and listen to that and go, yeah, what's different? Right? Becoming curious instead of judgmental about what your outer experience is revealing. Simply being honest with yourself. Let's talk about this. Why is this situation or circumstance so this or so that? And going from a judgmental point of view to a discernment point of view. Let's break this down, right? What within me, what story or dogma or situation or circumstance have I carried so long that I need to unpack? Because if I unpack it and feel it and go, oh, I felt that. Yeah, that happened to me 15 years ago. I've been carrying that. And the reason why I've been carrying that is because I didn't want to feel it then. So we packed it away. And now that certain people come up, uh, uh, kind of what I'm gonna kind of chipping away, so the feeling starts to seep through, right? And it doesn't have to be the same person. I could have did this with my sister or brother, and my sister and brother could have made me feel, like I wasn't worthy enough, or my mother made me feel that I wasn't worthy enough. And then other people come along and chip away at what you've suppressed, and they're not your mother, father, sister, brother who made you feel unworthy, but these other people are coming in with certain statements that remind you of that. Your egoic personality reminds you, remember that, right? So so all that's being shared here is, don't be so judgmental of yourself when you're dealing with whatever's going on within. Because if you don't deal with it from within, it will reflect outward. It will reflect. If you've got a lot of chaos going on within, but you're not dealing with it, you're just pushing it down, chaos is going to vibrationally show up on your outer scape. Okay. When chaos, conflict, and limitation appear in your reality, this law invites you to uh, uh, take a stand with them externally, to turn inward and ask. Take a stand. Some people might say fight. Take a stand. What is this showing me about my inner beliefs? Because it comes from within. The world that's reflecting to you is coming from within. Whatever is from within is reflecting outward. The law of correspondence is just showing you it. The law of cause and effect is just showing you. The law of action is just showing you. It's mirroring, right? You get to ask other questions. What unconscious patterns are reflecting, right? Where am I misaligned in the truth of who I really am? Maybe I've got a truth that isn't really truthful about me. Maybe I've been holding on to that too long, right? These are questions that the law of correspondence will have you ask yourself. Embodiments, right? Let's talk about embodiments next. Merging this law into real life means cultivating a daily practice. Your daily practice, not someone else's. It could be a self-inquiry, daily asking yourself a question internally, going within and asking yourself questions and giving yourself grace to wait for the answer. You might see the answer outwardly. It might show up in a person who says, oh, you'd be great for this position, right? And then all of a sudden you say to yourself, well, I am worthy, right? So practice of self-inquiry and inner attunement. Maybe the things that you're asking the universe to give you, maybe the things that you're asking is because other people have stuff and you want to keep up with the Joneses. But go inward and go, why do I really want that? Why do I feel that I need to have something somebody else has? It comes along and it's not a right fit. It doesn't fit me. Go within. Find out what's misaligned. Maybe it's no misalignment, except for that you're asking for something that someone else has that you don't really need. right? But the fact that you're trying to keep up with the Joneses, that's an internal problem. Where did that come from? Right? Okay. Let's see. So you have to become an architect of your mind, your internal consciousness, your internal everything internally. If you want to put a spiritual aspect in body, mind, and soul, having a seat at your soul and asking your inner guidance system some powerful questions about yourself, not about other people. You can't change other people. You can't change when they come into your sphere of beingness. You can't change them. How they show up in your story is what you put out to the universe, and it mirrored back and opened the door so this person or persons can come in. But when you attend to who you are, who you really are, and address being responsible for your choices from the inside out, then those exact same people that kept showing up, they're not mirroring you anymore. The universe is mirroring something different that allows the parameter to shift just a little bit, and those people are just as quickly as they showed up, they're gone, right? You know. So your soul, your body, heart, mind, soul, choosing thoughts that are coherent with your higher self, holding emotional frequencies that match the life you are calling in. If what you're calling in, if what you want, what you put out there that you want is not matching the vibrational frequency and emotional frequency of what's within, then you're going to have conflict. Okay? Embodying beliefs that expand rather than limit. Hey, been there before. You ask for things, but you ask for it in a limited way. So the universe, the law of correspondence, can only mirror what you're asking for. If you're asking for it in a limited format, then that is what's going to vibrate and turn into things. Okay. Okay. So let's give an example of that. Imagine someone constantly feels unseen and undervalued in their relationship. From the outside, it may look like a pattern of being overlooked, dismissed, and not appreciated. But through the lens of correspondence, this outer dynamic is a reflection of an inner belief and emotional pattern, perhaps a deep-seated sense of unworthiness or a tendency to silence their own needs and desires. The law reflects, or this law invites them to, invites them not to chase external validation or force others to value them, but to do the inner work of recognizing their own worth, expressing themselves authentically, setting energetic boundaries. It means that you have to do the work yourself. If you look at somebody else's perspective of how they see you, they might be looking through a perspective of devaluation. They don't value you. But that's them, not you. But if you devalue yourself, and this is what you're giving to the universe, saying I want somebody who's going to tell me I'm valued before I feel valued, the universe is going to bring you that energy in. Right? So I'm going to say that again. This law invites you not to chase external validation from others, not forcing others to give you what you believe you need, because you don't feel validated. You don't feel worthy, right? You don't feel love for yourself. So they've got to give it to you, right? But to do the inner work, do your inner work. Do your inner work, right? Here's another example. Consider someone who is caught up in a cycle of scarcity, struggling with finances, feeling anxious about money, and believing that abundance is reserved for others, i.e., people who grew up listening to their parents say money doesn't grow on trees, and only rich people have money, and they're not nice people. So you don't want to be rich because they're awful people, right? They don't care about anybody but themselves, right? The law of correspondence reveals back to the law of correspondence reveals that this external lack mirrors an internal frequency. So if you've holding on to that as part of your story, your belief, and your belief becomes your truth, then this is what the law of correspondence is picking up on, frequency wise. That's your truth, right? You might be doing it subconsciously. It could be a subconscious belief stored away, packed neatly away with a trunk of new beliefs that may not be for your highest and greatest good sitting on top of it. Healing their relationship with worth is about cultivating trust in your ability to receive and align with the energy of an abundance. Get this. If you're asking for abundance and you're vibrating in a frequency of scarcity or lack, you are going to get an abundance of scarcity and lack. The law of correspondence is responding to your frequency and your vibration. It's mirroring it. All these examples show that the law of correspondence, it's not just a mystical idea. It's the fabric of everything that is and is not. It's a powerful tool for transformation. It's a powerful tool for alchemizing. In order to alchemize something, you must know that there's something that needs to change and be alchemized or transformed. The law of correspondence teaches that the fastest way to change your life is to change your inner state. Go within, so without. And it doesn't matter if it's love or money or health or purpose. Everything has an external mirror. When you adjust your image from within, then the law of correspondence reflects your adjustment. So the reflection must follow. It's not wishful thinking. It's alignment in motion, in action. Right? So here is a definition that I got. It's an esoteric root, right? What's believed to be the origin. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This law stems from the ancient Hermetic wisdom found in the Kabbalion, which teaches as above, so below, as below, so above. This simple axiom hints that the unity between planes, the mental, physical, and spiritual realms, are all dancing in resonance with each other. This helps the modern self-awareness practice back to the timeless universal truth. Diminishing the law of toxic positivity. You might clarify that the law of correspondence is not about blame or bypassing. It's about awareness, ownership, alignment. This creates space for compassion rather than guilt, right? Compassion rather than guilt. This law is not a moral judgment or an invitation to shame. It doesn't mean that pain and illness and hardship are your fault. It means you have influence. Your reality is not a punishment. It is communication. It is the language through which the universe speaks back to your most innermost vibrations. Your most innermost vibrations. The law of correspondence invites you to have compassion for yourself. It mirrors that. Let's talk about collective reflection. I'm going to read this. Just as the personal mirrors the inner psyche, so too does the collective mirror our shared consciousness. Global crisis, systemic injustice, and collective awakening are all reflections of beliefs and fears and potentials we hold as a species. Healing the world begins by healing within, individually and collectively. In order to know what part to play collectively, you have to know who you are from within. The healing begins with you. Right? If you want the universe or the law of correspondence to respond to you, what within you feels like peace? If you're asking for world peace, if you want to be in a collective that's talking about world peace, what does peace look like from within you? So within, so without. Being a collective is not letting someone else call the shots. Being a collective is individually being part of a collective, bringing you and having a say. From within, how do you feel? I remember Mother Teresa. I remember reading somewhere, not reading, I was watching when I was much younger, watching Mother Teresa in she was on a talk show or discussion, and she was asked the question, would you go to a war rally? And she said, no, but you invite me to a peace rally, I'll be there. She knew that it was two different vibrational modalities. But if you're talking about peace, I'll be there. Okay. Okay, so Practical daily practices. We're going to touch on this one more time. While writing encourages self-inquiry, adding specific daily tools can be part of your embodiment if you want. Infinite possibilities to get where you need to go. Not everybody. I took my dog to the vet today, and we were talking about not one size not fitting all. We were talking about what one person may do for their dog, I may not want to do for mine. So here's some pointers. Here's 3 bullet points. Take what resonates. These are only 3. Infinite possibilities. There are many more being shared on a daily, right? Morning mirror check or mirror check in. Ask yourself, what do I want the world to reflect back to me today? Am I being that energy? What do I want the world to reflect back to me today? Am I being that energy? What do I want the world to reflect back to me today? And am I being that energy? You can do an evening reflection. Instead of reading the day's events, your journal, what did today's experiences reveal about my inner beliefs and expectations? What did I experience that revealed to me something about me? The third one is being in heart alignment meditation. You can be in that if you choose. You can take 30 minutes. You could do 5 minutes. It really doesn't matter. Heart alignment meditation. You get to visualize aligning with your inner world with love, clarity, and truth, and ask your outer world to mirror that frequency. You internally, you get to say, what does clarity mean to me? Oh, it means this. What does love mean to me? Oh, it means unconditional. What does truth mean to me? And then you get to define it for yourself. And then and ask from your higher being that my outer world reflect this about me. Sometimes the outer world doesn't just mirror your beliefs. It reflects your inner cast of characters. That's right. Who are your characters? You're the writer, producer, director. You're the lead character in the story, the journey. Who are your characters? Who are your co-characters? Who are your extras? Who are your featured extras? Who are your day players? Right? When you keep encountering judgment and when you keep encountering judgment, is it mirroring your inner critic? Is it mirroring your inner egoic self? That self that believes it's your personality. Is it mirroring that? When abandonment repeats itself, is it echoing your inner child's cry for connection? Maybe you buried that inner child and its lack of connection with mommy, daddy, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, or never having any friends in school or co-worker, down the line. You get to introduce these concepts or these characters and ask yourself internally questions about why they're in your story. Why do you have them in your story? Why do I have them in my story? Right? Right? You are not here to control the world. You're not. You're here to have a story, a journey. You're here to be on the playground of earth consciousness and play on her playground. She invited you to play. She invited you to shift and evolve. You are here to remember that the world is responding to who you are being. You are not a passive receiver in life's circumstance. You are a powerful transmitter. Every thought, every belief, every emotion broadcasts a frequency. Align it with your truth and let the universe respond in kind. Right? Align it with your truth and let the universe respond in kind. The law of correspondence is unwavering in its truth. It cannot lie. Your outer reality is is a faithful reflection of your inner world. As you expand your awareness, elevate your beliefs, and align your soul's truth, life is going to rise to meet you in kind. The law of correspondence guarantees that. It mirrors you. It's not a matter of it's a matter of resonance. The moment you shift within, the world around you begins to mirror that transformation. It begins to mirror that shift. The law is not in limitation. The law is not limited. The law of correspondence is not limited. The law of correspondence is your liberation. It empowers you to become the conscious creator of a life that reflects your beauty, your power, and who you truly are. Take the time to be unconditionally you. So within, so without. If you're looking at your world being chaotic, the law of correspondence is saying, go within. Fix it there, transmute it there, change it there. And then the law says, I'll reflect that. But the law won't change the law of correspondence or action or the law of attraction or manifestation will not change that for you. We were given that opportunity as human beings, having feelings and emotions about certain things in order to take us to a point where we get to go within and change it if we don't like something. That the law of correspondence, all laws flow that way. Transmitting the energy of unconditional love, and we get to be a receiver, and then we get to be a transmitter. What are you transmitting? If your world is chaotic, go within. So within, so without. Right? Take what resonates. But I thank you for joining me on this Embodying Universal Laws Part 5. We look forward to the next universal law next Tuesday. So join me. And I will send out notification. One love, wholeness and balanced love, and so within, so without. Take care.